peace. This your host, Selah Shalom, and this is Cosmon Teachings in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible or WASPI. And the topic of discussion today is called Enochissa falsely styles himself Brahma, and Kabalactes falsely styles himself Budha. In this video, I will be explaining how the name Budha in China and India, and Brahma in India and China was established on earth by the false Trinity gods Enochissa, falsely styled Budha, and Kabalactes falsely styled Brahma. And simultaneously, there was a revolt from these false gods' heavenly kingdom above China and India, where 9 lords escaped being captured and fled west into the regions of Athens, Greece, Europe, and became the gods of Rome and Greece, such as Poseidon, Kronos, and many more. These were not mythical characters, but angels that fled a rebellion in the eastern heavenly kingdoms, being over China and India. And these angels established themselves in the heavens above Greece, Athens, Europe, and Rome, that whole area, and inspired mortals with their doctrines and philosophies. And you can find many Roman gods with Indian origin. And what I'm about to read from here on out is the origin of these religions before they were established on earth, and the effects these fallen angels had and still have on earth. Now, God's book of Ezra, chapter 39, verse 9 through 28, it states, verse 9, "The war they set on foot on earth extended into their own kingdoms, and these 3 gods, the true ones, saw that only by might and desperate vigor could they preserve their heavens from anarchy." Verse 10, 5 of the sub-gods of Kabalactes of India revolted within his own kingdom and set up places of their own, and they falsely assumed the names of saviors who had been put to death in order to establish the Trinity. So here you have a revolt in the heavenly kingdom of Kabalactes over India, where 5 of his sub-gods established their own heavenly kingdoms and assuming the names of saviors, showing you more confusion as to these doctrines. Verse 11, Kabalactes summoned his remaining chief officers to Heraktu, his heavenly city, before his throne. And when they were before him, he said unto them, verse 12, "This is the emergency of the gods. My voice and my strong arm are raised up. Miscreants, whom I have elevated to official positions in heaven, have betrayed their trust. With their legions, they have succeeded in setting up kingdoms of their own." Verse 13, "And I have called you before me, that ye may jointly hear my decree and obey. I will have order and harmony in my heavens, neither shall there be but one God in my dominions, even myself. It is my will, therefore, that ye pursue these rebellious captains down to earth, to their heavenly kingdoms, and despoil them utterly." Verse 14, "And if need be, ye shall capture them and their chief leaders and cast them into hell. For they shall understand that I am not a God of peace like the Jehovian gods, but a God of war." Verse 15, "For this purpose I appoint Yema as my holy ambassador and earth warrior, and I give to him 2,000 million warriors, that he may make quick work of my rebellious chiefs." Verse 16, "My marshals shall elect, therefore, from thee, Yema, the 2,000 million angel warriors, and thou shalt appoint thy own generals and captains, and go down at once to the earth regions of these miscreants, and carry out my command." So here you have the host of Yema, where you could find record of Yema in the Indian text. It's commanded to go down to the earth to despoil the gods that rebelled against Kabalactes. Verse 17, "Yema and his host did as commanded, but not suddenly, for an angel war ensured which lasted 46 years. Before the 5 rebellious gods were beaten from their strongholds, and even then they were not captured and cast into hell, but they escaped, taking 500,000 angel warriors with them, and they migrated to Europe, to the city of Rome, where they established themselves in security. Thus the despoiled Indian gods became gods of Rome." So here is the origin of the gods of Rome and Europe, being 5 chief gods and a host of 500,000 angel followers that fled a rebellion from the heavenly kingdoms of Kabalactes, the false Budha, over India. Now here's where Kabalactes falsely styles himself Budha. Verse 18, "Immediately after Yema succeeded in clearing away India, Kabalactes summoned again to Heraktu, his heavenly seat. When he had thus come, Kabalactes spoke from the throne, saying," verse 19, "Because my wisdom hath triumphed in heaven and earth, I now take unto myself a new name, Budha, And from this day and hour I shall be called by no other name forever. And my heavenly place, my city and my heavens, shall be known henceforth forever as Haraktu, the Buddha's heavenly kingdom, the all-highest heaven of heavens. Verse 20. Though Yema shall repair again to the earth with thy 2,000 million roaring angels, and establish me as the Buddha, by fire and by sword, by blood and death, shall thou establish my name on earth. And this is exactly how the false Buddha was established on earth, through warfare. Verse 21. And thou shalt find a way to teach mortals that I was Sakaya, and Sakaya was and is Buddha, son of the true one, son of the Holy Ghost. Now here the false Buddha decides to combine Sakaya, the true prophet of God, with the term Buddha, bringing more confusion. Verse 22. Jehovah had said, Behold, the time will come unto both gods and men who deny my all-person, when they will espouse even falsehood for sake of their own selfish ends. Verse 23. And Kabalactes shall falsely assume that he was Sakaya, and that Sakaya was and is Buddha. Verse 24. Jehovah spoke to God, saying, Behold, he commandeth himself to be called Buddha. Now I say unto thee, suffer this also to be. Neither accuse thou him before heaven or earth of his falsehood. Verse 25. Nah, but thou shalt also henceforth call him Buddha, signifying all knowledge, for it is his choice. Verse 26. So it came to pass from this time after Kabalactes was called Buddha in heaven, and his angel host under Yema, who descended to the earth, inspired mortals, both through the oracles and by direct contact, to call Sakaya Buddha and Buddha Sakaya. And these things were so. And in not many generations, mortals forgot that they were two persons. But they accredit all things to Buddha of the spirit, and all things of the flesh to Sakaya, although the whole matter was false in fact. And this is the doctrine we have today about Buddha and Sakaya, being a twisted doctrine by the false Trinity God Buddha, no different from how they twisted Yeshua to Jesus. Verse 27. Wherein it came to pass that the followers of Buddha professed peace, but practiced war and conquest, setting out by blood and by carnage and destruction to establish Buddhism in India. Verse 28. Jehovah said to God, Even this shall thou suffer them to do, for herein will they lay the foundation of the final overthrow of this false god Buddha, for they will put aside the Trinity of their own accord, retaining Buddha and the Holy Ghost. Yeah, they will ultimately teach that Buddha is itself but a principle, and that the Holy Ghost is but nothing. They will say, War for Buddha, and thou shalt attain Buddha, which shall be followed by Naravinya, which they will also call nothing. And these things came to pass. Now here's where Enochissa, the false Trinity God, and how he established himself as the false Brahma. Now, God's Book of Esdras, chapter 40, verse 1 through 32, it states, verse 1, Not less were the trials of Enochissa, for his sub-gods also revolted, and many of them assumed the names of saviors he had given to China. And he also sent an army of 200,000 million angel warriors down to earth to destroy them and break them up, and if needed, be captured and cast them in hell. Verse 2, Of these hosts he made Yadeth chief captain, giving him power to select his own captains and generals. And it came to pass that a heavenly war ensured on earth, in China, between the hosts of Yadeth and the rebellious sub-gods and their hosts, which lasted 70 years. Verse 3, And Yadeth gained the victory, clearing away all the rebel angels of the sub-gods and putting them to flight. 4 of these rebel gods fled to Argos, to Athens, where they established themselves securely. Now here you have the origin of the gods that became the gods of Argos and Athens, being 4 gods that fled a rebellion from the heavenly kingdom of Enochissa, the false Brahma. Now here is where Enochissa falsely styles himself Brahma. Verse 4, Enochissa now summoned Yadeth and his victorious army to Eteshang, his heavenly kingdom. And when he was before the throne, Enochissa said unto him, verse 5, Thou hast beholden the machination of my brother true and God, Kabalactes, who hath falsely assumed the name Buddha and proclaimed himself the all-highest God, and his heaven the all-highest heaven of heavens. 2 things do I decree this day and hour, an army of angels for the earth of 2,000 million, and thou, Yadath, shall be their commander to do my will, and another army of angel warriors for my heavenly kingdom of Eteshang, and for my kingdom of Damaya over Guatemala, which is North America. So here it shows you how these angels, when they seek out to go do destruction, they have two army angels, one for the heavenly realm and one for the earthly realm. Verse 6.